Welcome back to Melissa Talks, where we talk all things uniquely you. In today's full episode, we are continuing with our final episode for the month of February and the Love Talk series, part two, with my husband, Dewitt Robinson.
Let's go.
Welcome back. You got an invite back.
Glad to be here. Glad to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
You're welcome. All right. So we are going to continue on, and I would ask that you please go back and listen to part one of our conversation, which now is a continuation of that, going a little more deeper into our relationship and marriage. Once again, it's been 20 years this year. In July, it will be. And so now we're going to look at a few things as it relates to challenges and how we grow from that and are growing from that. And so the first question that we'll move into, and so again, be sure to go back and listen to the previous episode. Again, this is a continuation. So regarding tough times, and we've had a few.
Right, a few.
Over the years. What piece of advice would you give to couples that are facing tough times?
Good question. If I had any advice to give to couples who are facing tough times, and as difficult as it may be, you've got to continue to find the time to date each other. I don't think it's just the male or the female or the husband or the wife. It has got to be that we are making a commitment to continue our date nights, because sometimes during the date nights you can lose in a healthy way sight of whatever the challenge may be and focus on, if you can, the theme park or the meal or the walk or the setting wherever you all may be. Even if it's just, you take a pause for an hour, 2 hours to just continue that mode. I think that can help soften the tough times. I don't think there's ever a way to truly avoid the tough times, and I'm not sure that should be the goal of any couple, to avoid challenges, because they will arise. But I think that it's important as much as possible to continue the date nights.
Yes, that's good. We've had our moments to where, it's a tough moment and you're like, okay, let's go.
Right.
Or I'm like, are we still going? Things like that.
Right.
And we do. And of course, it does look to, ease the tension in those moments. And I would just like to add also that during these times that we don't, lose sight of what the issue is. If, of course, it's an issue that needs to be resolved or talked about at some point, maybe schedule a time to come back, to that issue.
Point. Great advice.
And, look to talk about it at another time. It may not be the right time at that moment. Tensions may be high, and nobody's hearing each other during those moments.
Right.
So schedule a time to come back and revisit it, because you don't want to leave things unresolved that can later lead to bigger issues, right?
Absolutely.
So moving into communication and how we look to handle that. With our disagreements or conflicts, how do we handle them in our relationship?
I think we handle them in a number of ways. I don't think there is one cookie cutter approach to be able to handle disagreements or conflicts in our marriage. And as you led in with, almost 20 years being married, I think you have to learn how to treat it almost situation by situation. I think there are lessons learned over the years about how tension is received, how conflict is received, how disagreements are received. And from that, it helps to inform the other perspective and thought. Now, that doesn't mean that it's always the same. I mean, it could vary based upon the situation, and it being 5 years removed since the last time something similar was faced. But I think that it's helpful to understand every situation is different in its own,
Right.
but communication is still key as much as possible in the midst
Yes.
of it all. Um, in our relationship, it has been very healthy to be able to continue to talk about it,
Yeah.
whatever it is. Um, and sometimes you don't see eye to eye on the same day. Sometimes you don't see this eye to eye the same, back to back days or triple days. It may be a week later or 2 weeks. Who knows? It could be later in the month.
Yeah.
But you've got to try to figure out how to communicate. So we handle our disagreements definitely through talking through them.
Yeah. And sometimes just agreeing to disagree.
Yep. Yeah.
In that situation, agreeing to disagree because, as he said, we don't always and will not always see eye to eye.
Yep.
And so there are just times where you have to just leave it at that.
Hmm.
And like I said a moment ago, maybe come back and revisit it another time. But even in that, what would you say are the most important factors in maintaining open and honest communication? We talked about
Right.
communication, in various aspects here and even in the previous recording, but that open and honest communication and maintaining that, how do you think, what's the most important factors with that?
I think being persistent through the need to communicate. I think for most men, it's not that we can't be honest. I don't think many men understand the importance of being open
Mm,
because
mm,
oftentimes
that's good.
we are held to a higher standard of being able to solve a problem, fix a need, aid a a problem, or aid in the fulfillment or rectifying of a problem. And sometimes being honest about how we feel will require a whole lot of vulnerability that a lot of men just aren't comfortable with. So
Yeah.
it's not necessarily the fact that I don't think many men can be honest. It's about being open and sharing how I really feel without having to hear that your feelings don't have validity or that there is no
Mm,
basis for it. Or,
right.
sometimes even when we're disagreeing, the fact that there may be, some truth that I have, but because you have a lot of facts to defend your answer, and most men may not have all those facts, and I don't
Mm-hmm.
have all those facts, it
Mm-hmm.
then becomes, well, I can't be open. I don't have the level of specificity that you're talking about. I have a very generalized answer. So, not
Yeah.
that I can't be honest, it's the fact that when I'm trying to be open, there can be a level of just uncertainty there.
Yeah. That's good. And in conjunction with that, I think from, the female perspective is just listening. I think if there is or are specific information or details or things that's being shared with you, listening, and taking that into consideration could, also help with the understanding,
Yeah,
to be more open, to be, more honest in that communication aspect. Because oftentimes, although, we are different, men and women are different, how we perceive things, how we hear things, how we, then look to regurgitate what we heard. A lot of it has to do with listening,
mm-hmm.
is just what I have gathered. Just listening and being open to that so that you can be more vulnerable in your response to it.
Yep,
Does that make sense?
yep,
And even, emotionally. And so that's good.
yep.
So, how do you think we can improve our understanding of each other's needs and desires? And I think me just saying listening
Yeah,
could
yep.
definitely be one, from my aspect, of course, and women just really being heard and listened.
Yeah. I think I think this question is in some ways kind of self-serving, but I
Mm-hmm.
think the better response is how can we better serve each other
Mm-hmm.
with their needs and desires.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
That's good.
I think that, you know, understanding and improving the myriad of complexities of each other, I think is an ongoing process. But if we flipped the mindset not to think about our needs and what we want and
Mm-hmm.
how we perceive it to be all the time or most of the time, and flip it to center around how can we serve this person. And
Right.
when you ask yourself that, I think I can and do have a greater understanding of how I better serve you because I'm trying to meet your needs versus manufacturing something else.
So when you say serving the other person, what does and that's different for everybody.
Yep.
So, what does that look like to the person who doesn't understand what, serving the other person
Right. I think on a very
looks
practical
like?
level, because I'm not exactly sure who may be listening to this, whether they're seasoned in a relationship,
Mm-hmm.
years going strong, or maybe you're newlywed or you're just entered into marriage. Um, I think that serving the needs of one another comes over time. You talked about listening a moment ago. I think it
Mm-hmm.
comes as a result, obviously, of prayer to ask God, how is this woman wired? Why does she respond like this? And sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
not to over spiritualize it, to go back into the pages of her life.
Yeah.
Go back to the pages of her when she was 8, 9, 10,
Mm-hmm.
as she was approaching puberty, once she became a teenager, as she entered into a season after high school, maybe perhaps asking questions like that. And I don't
Mm-hmm.
think there's ever fully a final destination. There
Mm-hmm.
is an ongoing quest, an ongoing process to learn, to know more, to understand more, even when you're frustrated, even when you're angry, and even when you're happy. It's not all doom and gloom. Sometimes it is just a clear misunderstanding of what is a priority
Mm-hmm.
for your partner, what is a priority for your spouse, what is a priority for your relationship. Um, those things can't be underestimated.
That's
And
true.
just because it's not a priority for her doesn't mean that the earnestness of the priority that you have has to be diminished.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. So in essence, ensuring that you are getting to the heart of that person,
Yeah.
looking at that person beyond just the physical, and seeing into her intimacy, right?
Correct.
Or into him. And then, of course, from there, allowing that to lead you and guide you in the understanding of that person's needs and desires. So that's good. All right. So moving into overall, and we've talked about a few memories that we've had in our marriage over
Yeah.
the years in our
Yep.
relationship.
Yep.
Was there another one that you wanted to share?
I don't even remember what I shared in the last podcast episode when we asked this question, but I'll never, never, never forget. And at this stage in our marriage, a lot of it is intertwined with what we were doing with our sons at the time, or
Yeah.
where they were in their own stages of life. And I think to answer that question in two, one, as I reflect upon our own, you know, early days, we I would encourage everybody when I talk about that date night, and that is without the children. You know,
Yes,
find time
definitely.
to go on a date night without your small littles because they have their own needs
Without
and
the
they have their
children.
own personalities and they can just in their own world, not doing anything other than what small children do, they can distract from the goal and purpose of having a date night. And having said that, I'll go back to the kids. I think one of my most favorite memories, and maybe it's just where we were in life, is our trip to Tennessee. Not so much the trip to Tennessee, but the trip back. Uh, it was very memorable. I think another key time was a trip to South Florida as well that we took. We were having the scooters. If I think it was the scooters. We were on
We've
the
been a few
scooters.
times down there.
Yeah,
So
so we
scooters,
were on
Fort
scooters.
Lauderdale,
Yes, we were riding the scooters in
bikes in
Fort.
Naples,
Yes, riding
Miami, you've
the
done.
scooters. Right, the scooters in Broward, I think it was.
Yeah, Fort Lauderdale.
That was really, really, really memorable. Just us being in our own element without the boys,
Yeah.
that helped a lot. That was special. That was really
Yeah,
special.
I would say if we're going to talk about trips is when we went to California.
Ah,
um,
yeah,
Together. It was just us,
yep,
and we went out there for a conference of some
yep.
sort
A
you were a
conference.
part of in San Jose,
Uh huh.
California,
Yep.
and we just took the time that we were there to visit everywhere.
Yeah.
We went to Los
Los Angeles.
Angeles,
Yep.
Hollywood,
Golden Gate
there.
Bridge.
Went to San Francisco, the
Yep.
Golden Gate Bridge,
Yep.
and even went to some very authentic Chinese restaurants
Yes.
there
Yes. Very
in
authentic.
San Francisco. Was it San Jose, that restaurant?
I think it was San Jose.
Yeah, and just walking the streets
Right.
of that
Uh huh.
area. We
Yep. Seeing
went
some
to,
social media
I was
giants.
about to say, we went to
Right.
Facebook, we went
Right.
to Yahoo, we went
Uh-huh.
to Twitter, we went to Apple headquarters,
Right.
Cupertino,
Cupertino.
Cupertino,
Yep.
and just that time, and even the wax figure,
Oh yeah.
that
Very
place,
interesting.
and we've been to so many different places,
Yep.
but that one, just really stands out. And the fact that we were able to be together, in another side of the country
Yep.
and just
Different
enjoying
world.
life.
Yep.
And it really did seem like it's a different area, especially when you're in San Jose. Like
Uh-huh.
you don't realize that you're still
Yep.
in the United States, but it's so many
Right.
people of other, ethnic groups that,
Yep.
it sometimes you seem to be the minority, which we
Oh
did
yeah.
in a lot of
Oh yeah.
areas seem to be the minority.
Oh yeah.
But that's just one travel memory that
Right.
I would say definitely. And also any, our local outings that we do, it's just a blessing that we have the opportunity to be able to be together in certain instances, see different places, do different things. And there's just so many different memories. I mean, we have
Yep.
so many pictures
Yep.
that, I'll be here all night talking about all the different memories. But
Uh-huh.
as we close
Yeah.
this, any final thoughts or messages you'd like to share with our listeners about love and marriage as we close out this series for this month?
It doesn't happen all overnight. It doesn't
Yeah.
happen in a day, in a week, in a month, but day by day, experience after experience, you grow together, you learn together, and don't be in a rush for
Okay.
whatever you are thinking is the destination for your marriage, the relationship within your marriage.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a walk together. It's a walk together with Christ. And I think
Yes.
that if we're not careful, and I say we, I don't necessarily mean you and I'm talking
Yeah.
about couples in general. We are oftentimes in a rush, or can be in a rush, to have this actualization that isn't God, that is self-centered, that is man-made. Don't rush. That would be my final advice.
Yes. Don't rush. So with that, take your time,
Take your time.
walk it out. Allow
Mhm.
Holy Spirit to lead and guide you all in whatever it is that you all do, as that is the foundation
Amen.
of your marriage. And so
Amen.
this concludes.
This is it.
This concludes, of course, this conversation here, part
Mhm.
2.
Yep.
Again, continue to join us in the month of March as we
Yep.
celebrate Women's Month and look to highlight various women
Yep.
in different industries doing amazing things. And so you
Yep.
do not want to miss our first episode on
Yep.
Thursday, March 6th.
Yes.
So this is Melissa Talks, where
All
we
right.
talk all things uniquely you. Thank you, Mr. Robinson.
Thank you, Mrs. Robinson.
Until next time, bye.
Bye. Peace.